Hello. Today I'm going to be talking about situational or selective mutism. If you Google situational mutism, you'll find selective mutism. And why I led with situational is because selective has a negative connotation in the situational selective mutism community. Because when people hear the word selective, they immediately think of selective hearing. It's not selective hearing that you've heard of where people are choosing to put more importance on what they're doing, on the phone, finishing something, and pretending not to hear you. That's selective hearing. That's a choice that you're making. That is not what situational mutism is. Selective or situational mutism, I'm just going to say SM from now on, is by far from a choice. SM has its roots in anxiety, severe anxiety. And it's a difficult one to diagnose because it has a lot of similarities with social anxiety disorder, autism, and even ADHD. So people like myself with SM can be very eloquent and speak very fast at home and with people that we're fully comfortable with. So, but in certain situations, I we find ourselves unable to speak, and for me, it's not fun. It's physically painful. There's nausea. It's just extreme anxiety, and 1 in 13 people have social anxiety disorder. In adolescents, that number is 1 in 3 have social anxiety disorder. So it's the most common disorder right next to depression and substance abuse disorder. 1 in 44 people are autistic. 1 in 20 are ADHD. And so 1 in 13 after into adulthood, are have social anxiety disorder. However, only 1 in 144
according to a recent study by important science people.
Have situational or selective mutism. So it is more rare than autism, ADHD, and social anxiety disorder combined. There needs to be more information about it, and I'm going to try and speak to it. Situational mutism has cost me many relationships and a lot of suffering. I am I am autistic, bipolar. I have clinical depression and and acute anxiety disorder. So I have comorbidities. So for me, using CBT works with SM as well as autism and everything else. Cognitive behavioral therapy is one of the best things for me, and because selective mutism has everything a lot to do. I mean, it's fear based and anxiety based, remember. So a lot of that is internal dialogue and controlling environmental factors and doing desensitization therapy, aka or exposure therapy. Systematic desensitization can be done, but you have to be careful, just like with any exposure therapy, not to create more trauma. Doing cognitive behavior therapy for me, behavioral, has helped me a lot, and there are very simple exercises. Please look up CBT if you're interested and you haven't heard about it. Please look it up because it's one of the most important psychology tools that we have. For me, a lot of situational mutism comes from an expectation from the other person or persons, and a overwhelming fear comes over, and I'm unable to speak. And I've gone for days into weeks into the whole relationship where I'm just so afraid that I'm unable to speak. So, yeah. If you know someone with situational mutism, please don't put pressure on them. Use technology, texting, nonverbal communication, and don't make them feel bad. and don't answer questions for them. Answering questions for them is very frustrating because you can't read their minds, and when people start to read your mind, that's very frustrating. So, and not fair, you know. So, yeah. When I'm in a situation where I'm in mutism, I have an expressionless blank face and it looks like I'm emotionless, but inside I'm not emotionless. I'm the absolute opposite of that. That's why it's difficult if you are autistic or if your child is autistic to get that diagnosed because many of these overlap psychology. So this is good for treatment for the disorder is cognitive behavioral therapy, and so it is able to be made better over time. It just takes practice, just like everything. Even in the same situation, I can look relaxed and carefree with one person, but then unable to speak with the teacher or an authority or any of my other peers. But that one person I could be fine with, even in the same situation. But it's subjective for everyone, just like everything in mental health. So it's important to treat each person, and if you know that with love, and if you know that that person has selective mutism, just know that it's not selective and it's not a choice, and that we just want love and to be understood. So yeah. SM does not only exist or remain in childhood. For me, it didn't happen until I was around 11 years old that I can remember. However, I had many other autistic ways of self-soothing. I apparently was biting kids, my mom told me, was another thing that's common with autistic children. So, these manifest differently with every person. But it's important to know that situational mutism is not only exist in children and adolescents. It exists in adulthood. Just like autistic children become autistic adults. And remember, this video requires me to do quite a bit of editing.
Quite a bit.
So even though I'm able to speak here, and I am able to speak physically right now, today I could be in a situation where I am not. And that is different than being shy or timid. So that is not the same thing, and it is a real thing that needs to be respected and treated with love. And if you know someone with SM, please support them. And if you need to use nonverbal communication, like texting or even just writing down, if you live with them, and just speaking to them, and don't stop communicating unless they tell you to. So, and don't patronize them either, or baby talk them, or if you were in a lot of fear, the last thing that you'd want is someone to be patronizing to you, you know. And I know that someone wouldn't mean it like that, but don't do baby talk, maybe if they're an adult. This is just a really short video. If you have any questions about SM, please leave them in the comments. I'm going to be making more videos about this and many other topics. So please leave a comment, and I'd love to hear if you have any questions. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day. And take care, and I'll see you soon. And you are loved. See ya.